Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Can you believe it is already summer? Time has really flew by. Today I am sharing my spring reading wrap up, so all of the books that I've read in March, April, and May. Let's dive in. This spring I finished 86 books in total, which honestly feels like a really good reading season for me. There are some rereads, some books I've been meaning to pick up for ages, and a few surprise favorites that completely stole my attention. March ended up being a 26 book month. April was 23 books, and then somehow May became my biggest reading month with 37 books. Looking back, it was a pretty incredible season of reading. Let's start with my favorites of the season because there were a few standouts. First up, we have No More Secrets by Lucy Score, which was my favorite book from March. Out of the 26 books I read that month, this was the one that stood out the most. Next is Last on the List by Amy Daws, which was my favorite read from April. I read 23 books that month, and this one completely won me over. And lastly, The Governess Game by Tessa. This was my favorite read from May. It was also a reread, so considering I read 37 books that month, that's saying something. These 3 books really became highlights of my spring reading season. Not every book was a perfect hit this season though. There were definitely a few reads that landed somewhere in the middle for me. Nothing that I absolutely hated, but a handful of books that just didn't quite live up to my expectations. And honestly, I always think those kind of books still have a place in a reading season. Sometimes a book isn't a new favorite, but it still helps you figure out what you enjoy as a reader. One of my favorite parts of spring reading was definitely the surprise gems. There were a few books that I picked up on a whim and ended up enjoying far more than I expected. Those unexpected favorites are always some of the most memorable reads because you go in with very few expectations and end up finding something you really love. Those are the kind of books that remind me why I love just picking things up randomly sometimes. You never really know what you're going to fall in love with. Looking back at my spring reading, I definitely leaned into comfort reads and romance-heavy stories, obviously. I think that makes sense for the season. Something soft, easy, and a little bit escapist. A lot of these books fit perfectly into quiet mornings, slow afternoons, and those in-between moments of everyday life. It honestly felt like a really cozy reading season overall. And with 86 books read over the course of the season, I'm really happy with how my spring reading turned out. Now that spring is wrapping up, I'm already thinking about my summer TBR. I've got a mix of romances, seasonal reads, and a few books that have been sitting on my shelves waiting for the perfect time. Keep an eye out at the beginning of July for my summer TBR video where I'll be sharing all the books I'm hoping to read this summer. That's it for my spring reading wrap up. I'd love to know what your favorite reads were this spring, so feel free to drop them in the comments. I'm always looking for recommendations. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss my upcoming bookish videos. Thanks for watching, and remember, stay cozy and keep reading.